Just or Richard, you have sent this invite to?
We sent it out to about 30, but we've not. Hi, Pradir. Welcome.
So one of the things that we I'd like to understand is I've been looking at the approach that UAE is taking, and it is quite interesting that it's different to what we're doing in the UK. It's more prescriptive, which actually, if that's really the case on the ground, that will be quite a lot easier for us to make progress. What I mean by that is, in the UK, the legislation is in place, and there are some quite big penalties if people don't follow the legislation, but they've not prescribed exactly what people need to do. They are leaving it for the what's called the principal accountable person, which is a company really, for them to interpret the way they want to apply the building regulations. Whereas from what I've read, UAE is being much clearer in terms of this will be the solution, and if you don't follow this, then there's going to be enforcement. So could you just, am I reading that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Amar?
Yes, yes. I think you're right. Firstly, within UAE, definitely we'll have others as well who will join and who can give their perspective. But within UAE, we have the seven emirates: Abu Dhabi, Dubai. So all the seven emirates have their own municipality and those specific real estate or the construction policies or legislation. So, for example, sorry.
No, carry on, please. Sorry.
Yeah, so within Dubai, yes, as you have mentioned rightly, I think they have mandated some BIM protocols, specifically based on the number of floors and number of area. With respect to Abu Dhabi, I don't find any specific requirement, but yes, again, it says that, like as you have mentioned, I think it's with the principal contractor, so what they follow, kind of. And like within UAE, we have these are the two major emirates, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Uh, so that's what it is. Recently, there was some again regarding the fire safety. They had Dubai had um, uh, suggested that they would need some practice. I'm not sure exactly, but those are some things that they would require in Dubai. Uh, so that's what I am aware of because I'm not directly within as you're aware, but that's what I'm aware of. Karthik or Prasiddha, I hope you have joined from UAE, right? Karthik, Prasiddha?
Yeah, I'm from Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kartik? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer from background. I'm currently working in a company called Image Graphics. They are dealing with all engineering softwares purely, and my focus of business is more on to Autodesk softwares, and I am taking care on the technical part, and I'm interested about the asset management in those areas. So since the platform which I'm providing from Autodesk also support those areas, so I just thought to understand, like, to join more in the industry knowledge areas. So that is where I participated in these sessions.
Good. Okay. And Prasida?
Yeah, I'm a structural engineer based in Dubai. So I'm also interested in BIM asset management. Currently, I'm doing freelancing works for BIM structural area. So I'm also interested how these things will work. So that's why I joined here. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so shall I get underway, Richard?
Yeah, we've I've just actually checked. We had 27 accepted for the meeting, registered for the meeting. So I would have expected between 15 and 20. We have had a lot of problems with Teams, a lot of problems over the last couple of months. And I'm wondering if people have had trouble getting onto actually into the meeting. Because I would expect, as I say, with 27 people accepted and registered, that we would have probably 15 to 20 people in the meeting. So I think it looks like it was down to us lot then. There'll be a number of people who'll probably be emailing us because they couldn't get into the meeting. As I say, it's a problem we've had with Teams for the last couple of months, but we've never had any joy with any help we've asked them for. We've never actually got anything solved, so I'm not optimistic. Yeah, George, do you want to run through exactly, who we are, what we are? Oh, Stephen, welcome. Are you there? You're on mute.
Okay, I'll start, Richard, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, I'm a bit surprised as well because I've had messages through from people already this morning that to say that they're attending. So
Yeah, it does seem like it could be a Teams issue, doesn't it?
yeah, okay. So the important thing about this meeting is really for us to share with you what we've been doing over the last 4 or 5 years in the UK around the golden thread. So this is very much around the information rather than the technology. So we, for example, I wear two hats. I chair this group and also BIM for housing, but my business Active Plan, we're a Autodesk developer, so we develop software applications that complement the Autodesk platform, but we're concentrating on asset information management. So that's why it's BIM in asset management. But the first point is that the golden thread, it's like the DNA of project information. It starts before the design starts and goes all the way through to probably demolition and recycling of the buildings. So that's very much what our process is. So the principle is to be able to have a coordinated plan of that represents what all of the people that need information can contribute to, and we've got a number of different software applications in the community that help with that. We've then got tools that enable the information to be created and then obviously hand over to operations. And part of that's looking at what gets included in the as-built. Why do we need it? Well, the trigger in the UK was Grenfell Towers, where 72 people died, and it was quite horrendous because it was right in the centre of London, and that's led to updated regulations, and also quite a lot more enforcement. Now, what seems to be the case, I was just saying to Anwar that what you have in the UAE is possibly even more useful because you seem to have prescriptive requirements. You seem to be focusing on some strong compliance information, which we do in the UK as well. The thing that we're not so good at in the UK is enforcement. And my impression is that that's something that is taken more seriously certainly in Dubai. So I'm looking for some feedback on that today to see whether that's just a publicity or whether it's actually happening. So one of the things that we're doing, the golden thread really is about digital records, irrespective of which software is being used. And it's about making sure the building's safe and the people that are in the building are safe. And in the UK, as I was saying, there's a lot of legislation. There's the Building Safety Act, there's the Fire Safety Act. There's one also that came in earlier this year called AWAB's Law, that's about ventilation and mold, to try and limit that. The legislation also now in the UK, if a building is defective, they can go back 20, 30 years to prosecute the builders. So I'm very interested to understand whether there's a retrospective aspect of this in the UAE. And obviously, one of the other things that everybody's bothered about is energy, ESG, carbon, etc. So all of those things all are coming together to create a stronger reason for having a golden thread. The golden thread is really being defined in the UK by the industry. So the government isn't stating what the golden thread needs to include. They're asking the industry to define it. And the Construction Leadership Council is basically all the big contractors and interested parties. And we as BIM in Asset Management are currently contributing to that. And we have been doing for the last few years. So the important thing is that the building safety, it needs to be considered as a complete system. And I'll come on to explain that. And also what we're required to do is to make sure that all of the buildings and the parts in the buildings and the systems in the buildings all work together. So, for example, the example there, this is coming straight out of the guidance. A fire door, for example, is part of the compartmentation as well as being a fire door. So therefore, it needs to be looked at in that holistic way. So we've got two main organizations, each of which has got a particular focus on building safety. So BIM for housing has been going now for about 15 years, and Richard and I took over running it 6 years ago. And then we formed BIM in Asset Management, which is taking the learning that we've gained through housing and then apply it to all types of other buildings. So the way we're looking at BIM, a lot of people think of BIM as being 3D models, whereas what we're doing, we're looking at BIM from a point of view of the information. And I think that's the modern way of looking at things. So we're trying to encourage the idea that where you are in that construction process, we've got different working groups, and we then will say, if you're in construction, what information would it be helpful to get from developers or designers that makes our job easier, or people that are doing operations of buildings? what could they get from the construction team that makes their job easier. So we end up with work streams that carry out certain tasks. So we've got standardized templates, we've got libraries. We make all of this freely available. It's all available on our website. And I'm going to come on to the fire safety information shortly. But the other big challenge is, how do you know what information you need? Because each specialist will have their view. So what we've done, we led the Golden Thread initiative that was started 5 years ago, where our particular focus was on the asset information and other people were doing the other bits. And we then ran workshops, both on Teams and in person, to basically get people that are competitors to sit around a table and share their knowledge. And that's what we want to try and do with the UAE, to be able to get people to work collaboratively, to share their experiences, because what we've learned is that different people need different information for different purposes. So, whether you're involved in compliance or asset replacement or safety managers, everybody wants different information. So it's important to actually identify what those requirements are. Also, the people that are putting together BIM plans and BIM execution plans, they may have expertise in certain areas, but not in others. So a couple of you have said that your background is in structure. It may be that we can bring you together with people that understand building services, so that we can then align those requirements. But also, as far as the legislation is concerned, because certainly in the UK, the legislation isn't explicit, people are interpreting the information. And what we've tried to do is to look at how can we make it so that there's standardized ways of interpreting things. And as part of that, this is on the BIM Asset Management website. This is a Miro board that we've created. We've had over 100 people input to this. So who are looking at the legislation and then sharing their interpretation of it, so that we can then have something consistent. What we've also done is looked at individual assets and said, why is that asset, if it's a safety critical asset, what's it doing? What risk is it mitigating? What do people do to the asset to stop it from working? What information do we need to know about it to make sure it performs properly? This is real deep dive stuff. What procedures are required to make sure it's working properly? What levels of competency are needed? And also, if a product is changed out, how should that change be recorded? So we've done this for 12 safety critical assets. Again, you can, if you're interested in that, maybe if you put safety critical, if you type into the chat, safety critical assets, we'll send you a link to where these are. And we've had hundreds of people input to these. And just to show the quality and the level of detail, this is for fire doors. So we've got an explanation of fire doors, what the component parts are, just so everybody has a common understanding. And then a detailed breakdown. Remember that we've done this for fire dampers, for sprinkler systems and the like. We've had people that are writing standards on that as well. So you can then put in here you can see here what the risks are, and also what do people do to a fire door to stop it from working. I mean, I didn't realize if you paint over a fire door, which certainly some people would do to decorate their apartment, it can damage its fire safety capability. Depends on what paint you use. And then we've drilled into the details. So what information is needed from a design perspective, from a construction perspective, installation, and asset management. So again, there's a rich set of information here that is relevant to any fire door in any building. We did it originally for housing, but it can be any building. We've also created this, which is a common prescription or description of how to do a fire door inspection. So we're working at 3 levels, and we've got detailed information. So if you're interested in this inspection guidance, just put that in the chat, inspection guidance, and we'll send that to you. We've done it for fire doors, and we've also done it now for fire dampers, fire stopping, and cavity barriers. So these are the sorts of things that we think is useful to help share knowledge. And we want to then apply this in UAE because you will have a different perspective. We're also doing the same in India. And again, quite helpful graphics that help inform the next generation. What we've also done, this is another output from BIM Asset Management and the Golden Thread Task Force that we can share with you, which is a white paper explaining the business benefits, not just compliance, but the actual business benefits, cost savings and the like, that you can achieve through the Golden Thread. So if you'd like a copy of this white paper, just put white paper in the chat, and we'll send you a copy of this. Now, what we'd like to do, if you think this is interesting, what we'd like to do is to get some people in UAE that you've got local knowledge to modify this to reflect the circumstances in UAE.
Sorry, George, we've actually got a version of this done for the UAE, which needs, we've got a white paper for the UAE based on this format, but looking at obviously your specific market circumstances. So what we'd really like is your input into that, because it won't be 100% right. It's been done by research rather than people on the ground. So that would be a fantastic involvement for you to actually make comments on what we've done, add to it, subtract for it, and correct it. So after the meeting, we'll send that out to you probably early next week, and anybody who'd like to actually get involved in helping us do that, we'd be very, very grateful. That would be very, very useful. Sorry, George.
I think absolutely. Thank you, Richard. I think the other point is that information management is often coming from the top down. So it's requiring information managers. It's requiring people are following ISO standards 19650 and the like. But in many cases, there's not really a realization of why you're doing it. What's the real benefit and outcome from that? It's a matter of doing it because that's what's in the contract. So what we're trying to do is transform that and turn it around the other way and say, this is a way of saving money. This is a way of reducing risk. That's what the white paper's about. And what we believe is, and certainly we're getting traction in the UK, is it's adding a lot of value to what information managers do. Because information managers are often seen as gatekeepers, but they're not seen as being delivering real value to the process, other than things like clash detection. But complying, for example, with uniclass and classification and things like that, that's often seen just as a tick in the box. Whereas the real value is bringing these things together. So anyway, that's that. So the other main thing that we're concentrating on is how do we take the information, because a lot of people are doing a lot of really great stuff in design and construction, but how much of that is actually being picked up and used by the operations team? In the UK, there's very little. You know, there's literally thousands of IFC models that have been delivered that nobody's using. So we're trying to tackle that at the moment. And part of the approach that we're taking is to bring together people that have got expertise, both in terms of their knowledge and also software, and they can work together to make things work. So in other words, maybe 2 or 3 different software packages are actually collaborating, and I'll show you an example of that in a minute, with people with knowledge and expertise, so that when a client has got a problem, they can actually come to not just one company, but a mini sort of consortium, a group, who can deliver the value, deliver the outcomes that are needed, because they're not experimenting on the job itself. And to achieve that, we need really good classification systems and libraries, product libraries, to be able to use in producing specifications and standards, modeling applications. Reality capture is a really important one. Cost and inspection applications, and also general asset management. So those things are all integral parts. And what we're trying to do is get it so that when these parts, this is a key thing with the golden thread, is look at things from a scenario perspective. So in this case, a fire breaks out in a kitchen. How do we prevent the smoke getting into that stairwell there? And to be frank, stopping people from escaping. The way of going about that is there's a number of things that need to be in place. First of all, effective compartmentation. And that means not just the firewall and the doors, we've also got to make sure that penetration seals and dampers are in good quality. Otherwise, we end up with smoke getting through. And it's always going to be the case sometimes that some smoke will get through. So you need to have all these different systems all working in concert to protect the people that are in that apartment block. So that's the sort of thing that we'd like your feedback on, to see whether that aligns with your thinking in UAE. The other thing is that from a BIM perspective, we focus often on individual systems and assets. So here we may have really good information on the doors, we may have the product information, but the most important thing here is what's that door doing? It's actually protecting that stairwell there, which is also the escape area for these people here. And it may be that from a fire strategy point of view, when that building's first been put together, this was just a corridor, but now people are storing maybe electric scooters or mobility scooters and things in there. So that door itself becomes hypercritical, and we need the relationship between the two to be identified. And therefore, if, for example, there's a range of different software applications being used to do inspections, we need to be able to record it against the unique asset. So it would be really helpful for me if you're aware of software that's being used to do inspections, software applications that are being used to do inspections. Could you type that into the chat? Because that would be really helpful from our perspective. The ones that I'm showing there are the ones that are widely used in the UK, and certainly Plan Radar is used all over the world. But
George, let's rather than put it in the chat, let's ask people now about that, shall we?
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Kartik, are you using any software?
Actually, I am dealing with products from Autodesk. Like it's moreover, there is something called asset tagging. So, and there is an asset module where we used to track the asset status. And this platform name is called now Pharma Build. So I'm using that platform.
So you are using it, or who's doing the
Actually,
inspections?
No. Actually, to be precise, I'm the person who provide the pre-sales and post-sales supports for the product for Pharma Build, and we are the partner for Autodesk. So we do supply the software, and I myself support the customer who uses the product.
Yeah. So let me ask the question. So who's doing the inspections of the of the fire stopping, for example, or who's doing the inspections of the fire doors?
I might be wrong, like I'm not sure, but to my knowledge, a safety inspector who might inspect the site inspection.
And who would they work for?
It might be the subcontractor or the main contractor.
Yeah. So in the UK, and I mean, to be honest, I know that we're an Autodesk developer, so I know the Autodesk platform quite well. But I've not seen people use it for doing for specialist subcontractors, because normally they're commissioned to go and walk through the building, and inspect the each of the assets, and then identify if there's any problems.
Yeah.
And that's a different process than you've got when you're modeling. So what I'm trying to understand is if there are different software applications, and clearly if you're, and I appreciate the fact that you may well not know, but if you could try and find out for us what who actually is doing the inspections and who's doing the signing off, the people that are the specialists in fire safety, for example, what software are they using?
Sure. We are interacting with the customers on as per the meetings. So I will try to gather some insights from the customer context, and I can update you. Yeah.
What market are you in? What market are you in, Kartik? Is it residential or hospitals, schools? What kind of stuff do you normally do?
And actually, we do supply softwares for the construction industry, which they majorly into the developers, or they may be residential building or commercial buildings. So those type of buildings only we supply the softwares
Got
from
yeah.
so I think the projects are more on to that.
Anybody else? And
Uh,
why?
there are many customers in the market, but as from my side, we are dealing with this industry, and also we are dealing with some UAE government entities where they are using the different areas, and it's a phase wise execution, right? So they might go with the initial work on inside the project team, and then the collaboration, and then going for the site collaboration. So
Yep.
there are different case scenarios happening. Yeah.
Okay, excellent, very good, very good. We might speak to you actually, Kartik, outside the
Yeah.
meeting. Send you an email.
Yeah.
Prasida, how about you? Are you using any software?
I'm basically into the concept or design stage as of now. But previously, I have worked with the specification side of UAE market, whereas if I understand that for after handing over the projects from the developer's side, this goes to the facility management team or that kind of sort of
Yeah.
companies. So they will, accordingly to the as per the material or as per the system, they will assign people who are, as you said, George said, it's a fire and safety. Those are there, so they will assign people for that. So that's a side of facility management team, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. And what market are you in? What Prasida is
I,
that?
yeah, I'm into residential, yeah, high-rise towers. I have looked at.
Stephen Lewis, are you in UAE?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I've been here for about 18 months so far.
So what are you doing? What type of role have you got?
Well, with the contractor, we're building the Blue Line Metro here. So that's
Right.
about 12 stations and everything that goes with it.
And this question that I've got here, are you exposed at all to things like inspections and fire stopping and things like that?
So we're the general contractor, and so as we construct, there's a requirement for inspection and tests of pretty much everything. And so this all has to be very well documented and then handed over as part of a safety case at the end of the project. At the moment, we're using something called iSetia to gather this information. So there are custom forms that have been built to support the process where the quality managers are signing things off, gathering evidence, test reports, photographs, all that sort of stuff. And iSetia is gathering that information up. We also have something called open space.
Yeah, I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But yeah, absolutely.
Open space, we are required on this job to take a 360 camera walkthrough of the sites week on week. And it's also been used by the clients and our quality team. So when there's an inspection, we're taking photographic records of what you know of what's been constructed, and you can actually create little tickets and issues and records that go with these photographs, and it's all geolocated. It's pretty good. And that's actually been used more for snagging than anything else.
Yeah.
But it's a really nice tool, actually. It's so easy to use.
Yeah. So what company do you work for? Do you mind me asking?
I don't mind you asking. No, we're like a joint venture. Mappa, Limac, CRRC. So that's two Turkish companies, two Turkish big general contractors, and CRRC are the China Railway Company. So they're delivering rail systems, rolling stock.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll show an example, but we're working quite closely with as Active Plan, where one open space is part of our community. So, and we're currently actually we're building an API connection between open space and our asset management tool. So that might be worth you just taking a look at.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Anybody else? I think. Shall I move on?
Yeah, it's fine.
So those are some of the companies that we're that are part of our community. So you can see we've got quite a wide spread. What about common data environments? Are you using things like Aconex and Procore?
Sorry, is that question for me?
I guess generally, really.
Generally?
Yeah.
For us, yeah, we're using Autodesk, ACC.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much our CDE.
Yeah.
iSet is playing a small role in that. Yeah, it's mostly Autodesk products that we're using, so it's ACC.
Cool. Okay. Anybody else? I'll move on. So within our BIM and asset management community, these are some of the sort of brand names that are up there. And what we're doing is we're largely trying to look at what information is being collected for a particular purpose. So there may be a statutory need to do it. There may be an operational need to gather the information. And there may also be a reason that you would want to know it from an organizational point of view. But what's common amongst, from those are spaces and assets. So what we want to try and do, in particular on the BIM and asset management side of things, is have a standardized, consistent way of capturing information about spaces. And the same with fire safety, energy, and infrastructure. Again, if we can have, these are all different use cases, but rather than the information being captured and held separately in silos, what we're doing is bringing them together so that we've got a common understanding of what spaces are and the assets that are in there. And where we're trying to get to with the whole BIM process is if they've got 3D models, that's fantastic. But this is very common where we get 3D models, we'll get CAD data, we get some COBie data, operating and maintenance manuals, and also 360 photographs. And one of the problems is that none of them are connected up. So in the case, Stephen, that you were talking about earlier, the 360 photos in open space, even when you tag them in open space, that's not connected back to the asset data. That's the API that we're building at the moment. And the same with documentation in O&Ms, the as-built drawings, for example, the schedules that are in there, the lists of all the assets that are in there, often aren't connected, or even the certificates. So it means it's very difficult to pull these things together. So what we're doing is rather than that all being done manually, we create an asset information model that connects it all together so that we end up with something that is a proper golden thread. So you end up with federated information that's then machine auditable. So we can then check to see if the information that was provided is actually adequate. And you can also make connections afterwards that maybe weren't part of the model. So which assets are part of which systems, for example, and which systems are supporting which spaces. That's often stuff that doesn't get modeled, but the asset teams need to be able to do that. And they need to be able to find things easily. So the approach that we're taking is to read if there's Kobe data, fantastic, we use it. We can then take technical submittals, which is the point at which somebody actually selects what product's going to be installed. But we can also use 360 photography from OpenSpace or from any camera-based system to be able to take those 360 photos and turn them into intelligent asset data. So this is an example of that. This is ActivePlan's integration with the Autodesk world. So this is the sort of thing that I think you'll recognize. But the key thing here is that all of the asset data is actually being managed in SQL Server rather than in the models themselves, which means it's a lot easier to keep up to date. So the information about that product is coming from the manufacturers rather than having to be added to the model. And you can also have a very simple asset management view of that, which is a lot easier for the FMs to be able to navigate. And we've then got connections between the assets dynamically to the OpenSpace 360 photos. So that locational information, that is tied back to the master database. And therefore, what you're then able to do, you've got a three-way connection between the model, the 360 photo, and the asset data, and also the product information that's in the operating and maintenance information. So this is really an example of how we've got half a dozen software companies all using standards and protocols to be able to exchange information in a very effective way. And in this case, what it's also doing, it's populating the planned and preventative maintenance information as well. So the principle that we're working on from an asset management point of view is we can start with an estate, and any new project that kicks off, we're creating the information requirements in a machine readable format. And we're doing this in conjunction with other software companies. So we're working with a company called Morta, MORTA, that's very good at this sort of thing. And we've got product libraries, and therefore the integration that we've done with Autodesk platforms, it means that we could actually identify where things are being installed, and that can then generate a digital operating and maintenance information, but one that's connected to everything else. So we then end up with an asset information model that's got the golden thread that's gone through all of those different disciplines and can then get fed back into the asset information model. So then when a new project kicks off, you're then just building on the last set of information, refurbishments, extensions, and things like that. And we can then federate that information. So where we're trying to get to with the UAE, and we started this about a month ago with India, and we've had some really good take up from India, is to establish relationships with people in UAE where we can share what we've been doing, and then you can build on it. So we're looking for partners who are interested in that. We're doing a huge amount of work on AI at the moment, again, collaboratively. We record every session, so you can watch them. And that's what we're doing. And we're basically applying 19650 standards, but we're also drilling down into the detail of Uniclass, the various different Uniclass tables. So we're building that type of relationship so that we're then got that as part of the process, and then being able to identify what products there. Again, we'd want to understand how you're doing this in UAE with product information. I imagine that you will have your own, obviously, different manufacturers there. The other thing that we're doing in the UK, we're working with the UK government to apply the standards for both property and also facilities management. And I'm personally sitting on the new ISO working group to define the latest standards for facilities management. So if we can have some standardization of how floor code, I mean, it would be very helpful to know whether there's this level of detail in UAE. I'm sure there is actually, of how you organize things. Can I just ask that question? Is this type of information available as far as UAE is concerned?
Anwaruddin, you would know this. Is this the kind of stuff that's available in this kind of detail in the UAE?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But
So
what I
maybe-
understand, yes, Steven,
Sorry.
yes, please.
It's funny that you had a table of level codes there. From what I've seen over the years, each client has their own set of standards and way that they like to do things. So it does vary from project to project. There doesn't seem to be a authoritative guide around that stuff, which is unfortunate. It would be great if there was. Because what I see is often with clients, they don't always have that experience or, the time to really sit down and think about their information standards properly. And hence, as you're getting into a project, you find holes in their requirements and end up doing a lot of work to build up a standard that is functional for the project.
So, I mean, this is what this is what we're trying to address, Stephen, really, and that is the fact that on each client's asking for something different from their supply chain, which what could possibly go wrong? So therefore, if we can, what we're trying to do in the UK is agree something that is the core baseline from which to work, and then if anybody's varying from it, there's got to be a good reason to do that. And it means that the supply chains can prepare their information in a more standardized way that then we can use data engineering and AI to be able to automate the checking of it.
Sounds very good. Yeah.
So it would be, I mean, if nothing else from this meeting, if we could find out from people if there are any moves towards any degree of standardization, because certainly from what I've read, is that there's people are being in the UAE, people are being more prescriptive in terms of what they're asking for. Or the legislation is more prescriptive. I don't know whether they've gone down to this level of detail, but maybe that's something that we could suggest or influence. In India, the team that we've started in India, they're actually we've got in the group the people that are actually advising the Indian government, which is encouraging. So if we can have standardized ways of describing, what the space is and what the floor is, etc., we've then got that type of hierarchy to work to. So that's probably it from me.
Okay, well, has anybody got any questions or comments on what George has been saying? I know it's quite a lot. We've covered quite a lot of ground, haven't we? Anybody got any questions or comments? Kartik, how about you?
Yeah, I think there are no questions from my end, but I just it's a new thing. Like, is there any people are like following it? Because we are not doing those activities. It's a customer. We are just supplying it and help them to onboard to the platform and make it use it. And we are not sure about how the projects are really using it, which is good information which I need to know. I think after this meeting, I can connect with some of the industry leaders to understand how it has been happened.
I think that's the key point, Kartik, that
Yeah.
what I think we need to do is maybe use this discussion as a starting point to start to reach out to people who are interested. I mean, we don't want to be doing this if people aren't wanting to do it. We're all volunteers, by the way. There's nothing commercial in this. You know what?
Exactly.
We're not charging for it. Yeah.
Understood.
So we're going to be drawn. We've launched in Hong Kong. We've launched in India. We've got a small group in Nigeria. So and Saudi, we've got a couple of people in Saudi that are
ready to start there fairly soon.
Yeah. So if it's the case that there isn't really a demand in the UAE, then
Yes.
we don't want to be pushing it, right? But if there is, you know, Anwar, I think you're working largely in Abu Dhabi, aren't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, you know, from your perspective, would the golden thread, what I've described as the golden thread, would that be helpful from your perspective?
Um, I seriously feel that it would be, and with the expectation of people joining, approximately 20 odd people who had um, uh, accepted, I was thinking that is the case. But as I have also been involved with, like from the application side, delivery. But yes, I have never come across, except for the fact that people are using Uniclass or any other standards, but they don't have their own standards, or people are not following any standards from what I know. Even right now, in one of the projects, the handover is happening, and the handover is happening either by a document management system wherein they're just compiling the documents and just dumping it, or uh, or is just, the hard copies. So there is definitely a need, but now how things would evolve and how we could connect, I think it would depend on that as well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just on that point, and this isn't the place for me to promote this, but we do have a collaboration as Active Plan. We have a collaboration going on with Open Space and Malta and a couple of others. I was with Revistu last week, and what we're trying to do is to automate the process of the creation of operating and maintenance manuals.
Sorry, come in.
Is to automate
Uh-huh.
the handover, the creation of the handover information, so
Okay.
that it's done progressively through the process. So what I don't know what it's like. I mean, again, this would be helpful for you to let me know. I don't know, Stephen, if you could help with this as well. But if at the moment, what often will happen is that all of the work that's being done in BIM and drawings and schedules and things like that is all being very tightly managed. But then the assembly of all the operating and maintenance documentation, the manuals and the manufacturer's literature and things like that, that's often being done by a third party who's not actually involved with the project itself. They're just, as you said, they're just collecting information that,
Right.
and then it becomes a bit of a dump. Yeah.
Right.
And it's done right at the end of the project, when most of the contractors have finished their work and all they're trying to do is just move on to the next one, or they've probably already moved on to the next one. And that's a big problem in the UK. So what we've been doing, we've been using AI to automate the auditing of the operating and maintenance manuals and the health and safety files to identify what's missing. And that's then being created as a digital defect so that the client can then go back to the subcontractors, or the main contractor can go back to subcontractors and say, listen, what you've provided me here isn't adequate to make sure that the fire safety stuff's right. So that's the sort of thing that we'd like to be able to automate. So I don't know if people are interested in participating in that, but the principle is that you can progressively capture the information, because you may have a project that's going for 3 or 4 years, and some of the key information may be installed a year or 2 years before the handover. In which case, somebody that's collecting the information that isn't part of that process, they don't stand a chance really. So that's, if anybody is interested in that handover stage, we've got quite a strong group in the UK that's working on that. So that if you just put handover in the chat, we can include you in that as well.
Sure.
I was talking to somebody from Saudi a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying that it's quite different. The way the procurement process works in Saudi is it is more that it's actually the responsibility sits with the tier 1 contractor, with the main contractor, and the design responsibility as well. I don't know whether that's your experience, but I thought that was quite an interesting development.
When you say responsibility, George, what responsibility in what way?
Well, a lot of work in the UK, the traditional way of design and construction is that you have a designer that overall owns the project, and they are retained to the end of the project. So they are then there to scrutinize what actually gets built, Richard.
So their responsibility, basically, that overarching everything.
That's broadly, that's the way it used to be the way architects work.
In UK anyway.
Well, probably in most places, but what's happened, and I think it's the American influence going back 30 or 40 years, where design and build came in. So what happened is that a design would be done, and then the designers who have designed the building, that's put out to tender, and a main contractor would then win the work, and they may or may not employ the original design team. In many cases, they don't. And so there's a disconnect between what was designed and what's actually getting built. So the responsibility for what actually gets built and its design side of things is transferred to the main contractor. But that disconnect from the golden thread perspective is a real problem. And it's what's led to many of the problems. I don't know whether you would agree with this, Stephen, but in the UK, the principle of design and build has it's not produced very good outcomes.
I think if I'm not wrong, the same is followed here as well. The
Is
tier
it?
one contractor is responsible for the eventual handover. He might be contracting other designers or other architects or other people. Even the BIM modeling is just outsourced. They just it is being done, and then if I'm not wrong, that's the case. If anyone else have any, like Stephen, if you are aware, but that's how it is, I suppose.
It's definitely like that. Of a couple of projects I've done out here, the clients, the employer is appointing a general contractor. That's where the head contract is, and then the contractor is appointing designers, and the designers are only going so far here. There's then a second stage of what they call shop drawings, where you get the real detailed design done often by a specialist, but sometimes in-house, as part of what the general contractor does. So you end up with a design model, and then a construction model, and then an as-built based on the construction model. So yeah, the responsibility for us is for the entire project as a contractor. Also responsible for handing over the asset management system and asset management data. So we have a team looking after Maximo, developing that thing, all the standards around it, gathering the data, reviewing the data, confirming it's correct and complete, handing it over to the client as well. So a lot of onus placed on a contractor.
Christina, what about you? Because you're on the design side, aren't you?
Is that me?
Yeah.
Christina.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, in the design stage, mainly I work as a part of consultant. So where we do the designs and hand it over to the general contractors. So rest, as Stephen said, it's a part of a role of general contractors who does the work.
Yeah, what's interesting with what you've just said there, Stephen, is that one of the fundamental problems that we have from an asset management point of view is a lot of the detailed M&E information, which is often what you need in Maximo, isn't modelled. It may be modelled from a design perspective, but not by the people that have actually done the installation work.
Yeah, it's from the design's perspective. Mainly, we don't deal with the SCOBY data and
Yeah.
concentrate on the modeling and the design part of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So overall, is this something that we want to carry forward? I think it needs to come back to you guys and to see if you can introduce. I mean, clearly that if we can get some clients involved, that would be the ideal situation. I don't understand why we would have 20 or so people accept, and then
It's 30 actually, yeah. It's very strange that's what I say. All I can think of is that it is a glitch in Teams, which has happened before, and I'm sure will happen again, because we had 30 people accept. Just to tell you where we're coming from, in the UK, we started with BIM and asset management less than 2 years ago, and we've got just in the UK 7,000 people who are active members who come along to our meetings. Not all of them at different times throughout the year. So we're used to building up good sized organizations. As George said, we've started in India just over a month ago. We're getting about 40, 50 people to meetings there. Saudi, our first meeting is next month. This is the first one here, which we had, I think, 6 in along to this, but there'll be more next time. So what do you think? Is there any point? Is there any point in carrying on with this and building it bigger and bringing more people involved?
Actually, I had earlier discussed with Riz. I think he's on a vacation. That's why he did not join. Riz Davis.
Yes, He messaged to say he couldn't make it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I had
Yeah.
met him in Abu Dhabi, and he
Hmm.
definitely mentioned that there is definitely need in this particular region, but I'm not sure exactly. Again, that's a question. I think, Richard, we can just get together again,
Yeah.
just see how or what can we try to reach out to those specific people who had, accepted, and see if we can just send them a personal message and see if we can get their email, and then
Of course.
we send
Yeah.
out a Teams and we see the response. Because from what I see in the Teams, in the chat history, I see 4 or 5 odd people who have been just, received the invitation. I don't see 30, 40 people who have received the invitation. Um so I'm not sure. There could be possibly there could be some glitch or something. I hope that's the case. Uh, so what we can do is we can try once more, see if we get others along. Um, if not, then I think we'll have to take a call.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Omar,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank
Thank
you
you.
everybody for
Thank you.
joining in
Bye.
today. Everybody's
Thank
spoken
you.
and everybody has contributed to the meeting. So thank you very much for that.
Bye. 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 Thank you.
And you'll be hearing
Yeah.
from us and for another meeting in about a month to 6 weeks. And we hope we'll see you then.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.